Hi there, this is the crew at Jamaican Me Crazy, and they're going to be the audience for my informative speech. Okay. So first I want to thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history and establishment of Hilton Head Island. So before I get started, does anyone know when Hilton Head was established by European settlers?
Yes, I do. 1663.
Yeah, that's it. False. It was actually first founded by European settlers in 1521, where Francis Cordillo led an expedition for the Kingdom of Spain, and so they actually landed in Beaufort, which is like Paris Island and stuff, and they established a town called Santa Elena, and then they migrated south a little bit to present-day Hilton Head, and they actually named that Florida. And they stayed there for about 100 years, and during that 100 years, they had a lot of conflicts with the Native Americans, and so they actually continued migrating south to actually present-day Florida. And so in 1663, as you mentioned,
Yes.
Captain William Hilton sailed from Barbados for the King of England, and he was in search of a place to grow cotton, sugarcane, and indigo. And he found Hilton Head Island, but at the time it was known as Florida, and it was inhabited by Spanish-speaking Native Americans. So he knew that he wasn't the first one to find it, but he did establish the island in the name of Britain and named it after himself, the Hilton Head Island. So that's where we get the William Hilton Parkway.
Interesting.
A little fun fact for you.
Didn't know that.
So for about 200 years, the number of plantations grew, and there was 24 plantations at the beginning of the American Civil War. The main population of the island was only about 2,000 people, and most of them were slaves and overseers. And the wealthy families that owned those plantations really only visited in the early spring and early fall when because the summers were too hot and too buggy, because it was a lot more marshy than it is now with all the establishments and everything. And 7 months after the secession of South Carolina from the Union, Hilton Head was actually captured by the Union, and all the plantations were taken over by the Union Army and everything. And in 1862, Hilton Head became home to over 40,000 soldiers, missionaries, and freed slaves. But then by the time the war was over, the population sank to just a few thousand people. And so for about another 50 years and everything, the cotton industry declined because the boll weevil beetle destroyed the crops and everything. And the residents turned to fishing, farming, hunting, and their culture and language, both known as Gullah, survived as a legacy, and it really represents their strength and perseverance. In the early 20th century, commercial oystering and liquor production was the main source of income for the residents. Of course, the 18th Amendment established the prohibition, and the island's isolation from the mainland allowed that production to keep on. And this increased the demand for alcohol, and so the residents of the island were actually able to survive the Great Depression through the production of alcohol. In the 1940s and 50s is when the timber industry really took off, and that's due to the tall, strong pine trees known as sea pines. In 1956, General Joseph Frazier bought 200,000 acres at $60 an acre and basically clear-cut everything, and then his son, Charles Frazier, envisioned Sea Pines Resort, which is what we have today.
Oh, wow.
He also brought electricity to the island and funded the construction of the first 2-lane swing bridge, which connected Hilton Head to the mainland for the first time ever. And then the current 4-lane bridge was constructed in 1982, and then the town was actually incorporated in 1983. The population then was 6,500 with about 250,000 visitors each year, and now the population is about 39,000 with over 2 million visitors per year. And because the island was built as a tourist destination, People have migrated from all over the world to start their business here. So the island's demographics vary a little bit from what traditional South Carolina towns are like. And to paraphrase Nelson Mandela, the people of Hilton Head Island, through negotiations and as equal participants in the process, together determined what they wanted to make of their future and the future of the island. And so it's clear that Hilton Head Island is a very special place. Today we've got several plantations, which is basically just a nickname because they're resort and residential communities. And the town really strives for environmental friendly policies, including restrictions on advertising, restrictions on beachfront properties and landscaping. There's ordinances to protect the live oak trees and sea turtle nests. And there's also, a lot to do on the island with bicycling, kayaking, golfing, fishing. There's historical tours, environmental tours, and then of course there's a wide variety of foods to try. And Hilton Head Island really allows its visitors to make the most of their time here. And Dietrich Bonhoeffer in 1943 said that time is the most valuable thing that we have as humans, and we must use that time to gain, experience, earn, create, and enjoy our lives. And so it's clear that Hilton has come a long way, and it's constantly being improved and renovated, and those improvements are what has earned it the title of the #1 island in the U.S.
Yeah.